All right, it's Chris, Safety Dog here. Transport Canada's ELD mandate. When, why, and what the heck? That's what we're getting into next. Who in the heck am I? My name's Chris Harris, Safety Dog. I've got more than 30 years of transportation and safety experience with an extensive insurance background, by the way. I worked for an insurance company. I was one of those guys that came out and regularly audited the trucking companies to see what the heck they were doing. So if you need any help in that regard, please reach out. Safety Dog, Chris Harris. All right. The Transport Canada's ELD mandate is what we are talking about today. And by the way, if you get something out of this video, please click like and subscribe. All right, let's get into it. The Canadian ELD mandate. Yes, here is a link to Transport Canada. And if you have trouble sleeping at night, click this link and it will help you. All right, I've put that link in the show notes below for you. But yes, it will help you fall asleep. A better link, in my opinion at least, is Canadian Trucking Alliance, the CTA. They've put together a 6-page summary of Transport Canada. And I really think the 6-page summary is much more suited. It gives you a great summary and it doesn't put you to sleep because it is so quick and dirty. So if you think of it that way, click on the link. Okay, I put this link in the show notes below as well. They've done a great job and stuff like that. So there. The first question everybody's asking is when? When is the ELD mandate coming into effect and who does it apply to? All right, the when is June 12th, 2021. There are several people, and it's interesting that the ELD manufacturers have been pretty silent on this point as to whether they can meet this date or not. They've been pretty silent, and I suspect that if they criticize the federal government for implementing this too quickly on them, that they are afraid of reprisal. And we'll get into that in a second because they must submit their device for certification. So we'll talk about that. But I think that's why they've been silent. But there are spokespeople out there. PMTC, Mike Millian, from the Private Motor Truck Council, PMTC, has been very vocal, saying that the ELD manufacturers cannot possibly meet this date. So stay tuned. As of January the 18th, 2021, the last that the federal transport minister had said was that this date is not changing. However, recently, 2 or 3 days ago, there was a new transport minister assigned. And perhaps that gives that new transport minister a chance to back this date off. I don't know. None of us know at this point, other than PMTC says it can't be met and the ELD manufacturers are staying silent. Who does this apply to? We're going to talk about that in a second. The rules are the ELDs are going to be very similar to those. If you already have one from the States, it's going to be very similar. However, a big difference is the certification process. We'll talk about that. The hours of service remain the same. I've been asked questions by my clients. Is anything changing? Do I have to teach my drivers anything new? And the answer is no. 13 hours of drive time stays the same. The 14-hour working day or hours of work remain the same. The 14 hours of on duty remains the same. All in a 16-hour elapsed time window, or a working window of 16 hours. All right, that all remains the same. Sleeper berth for singles and teams remains the same. The reset, 36-hour reset for cycle 1, 72 for cycle 2, all remain the same. So the hours of service all remain the same. The only thing that is changing is the need for it to be electronic if you currently are required to have a paper log. So currently, if you go outside of the 160-kilometer radius and you are federally regulated, in other words, that you are an interstate carrier, meaning that you go outside of your base province, you are likely federally regulated. And if you go outside of the 160, you likely need paper logs today. So if you need paper logs, think of it that way. If you need paper logs, you need an ELD if you're federally regulated. What's Ontario doing? Well, I'm from Ontario, so I'll address that. very quickly. Ontario has had several readings of a new regulation. They are now one reading away. As of October 2020, they are just one reading away from implementing a new law. And basically, Ontario government has said, we're just copying the Transport Canada regulations and we're going to make it the Ontario law. So if you're from Ontario and you are an intra-provincial carrier, stay tuned, click like and subscribe, because when I find out more about Ontario intra-provincial ELD mandate, you'll find it here on this Safety Dog channel. All right, the federally regulated carriers, there's about 157,000 of them. And if you currently cross border into the US, you already have an ELD, which scares me, because if you already have an ELD and your ELD provider doesn't get certified, then we've wasted a lot of money. So I just want you to know about that. The ELDs must be certified. If you need a paper log, basically, and you're federally regulated, you need an ELD. Device certifications. This part is what makes us different from the United States. If you are going into the States, you already have an ELD, and you might know that there's about 500 certified ELD manufacturers in the States. The difference, though, is that in the States, it is self-certification. Basically, the US government gave the manufacturers of ELDs a checklist, and as long as you signed a sworn statement saying that, yep, my ELD does all of this thing that's on this list, then you became self-certified. Well, lo and behold, it has come known that about 25 to 50% of those 500 device manufacturers actually don't meet the self-regulation or the self-certification regulation. It does, these devices, anywhere from 25 to 50% of them actually don't do what they are required to do. So the Canadian government said, we are going to have none of that. We are going to have a third party certify our devices. And this is the scary part. Here we are, January the 18th of 2021, and I'll put a link in the show notes below for the website where you can see all of the certified devices. All right, all of them. And as of this date, right now, today, we have a grand total of none. There are no certified devices for Canada today yet. All right, I expect the larger manufacturers to get certified, but the small little guys out of the US certainly aren't going to get certified, and perhaps there's one or two Canadian companies that may not get certified. I don't know. They've got to submit it. It's going to take time for their device to get certified. It's going to be interesting. So the device has to be certified. Are there exemptions? Yes, there are basically just four exemptions. If you're currently operating commercial motor vehicle, that's what CMV stands for, a commercial motor vehicle under an hours of service permit, you're probably exempted. Commercial motor vehicles operating under a statutory exemption, yeah, guess what? You're exempted. And commercial motor vehicles that you rent for less than 30 days are exempted. So this is probably because if your truck breaks down and you get a short-term rental in, and it's for less than 30 days, you don't have to go to the expense of transferring an ELD. Pretty good. If your truck was manufactured before the year 2000, then you are also exempt. So those are the exemptions. What else do you need to know really quick? If there's malfunctions, and I'm going to do another video on just the topic of malfunctions, because there's a little bit more to it than what I'm about to say. But basically, if you've got a malfunction, you carry paper logs with you, and a minimum of 15, because of course in Canada we have cycle 2, which is a 14-day cycle. So you need one blank log for today, plus you might have to redo your 14 previous logs. So that's 15 logs. However, if you're in Vancouver and you're out of Montreal, you might want to have a lot more than just 15 blank logs. All right, but that's going to be the rule, 15 blank logs as a minimum. And the other thing that's really interesting is that you need to be able to transmit your logs via ELD. So, and you're going to have to train your drivers on how to do that. So be aware of that, because the device, the inspector can say, okay, you can submit to the inspector a printed copy of your logs, or you can perhaps give them the device, But quite honestly, many inspectors are not going to want to hold the device because, for example, if your device works on a cell phone and that inspector drops the cell phone, you're going to expect the inspector to replace that cell phone. And of course, that's a great deal of money. And the government is probably going to tell the inspectors, don't take the device, have the driver email you the transmit, do it that way through email. And that makes a lot of sense. So you're going to have to teach your drivers how to email the devices or email the logs. And that's not always easy to teach a driver how to use a computer. Real brief, that's it. June the 12th of 2021, right now, today as of January the 18th, is when the ELD mandate comes into effect. There are 0 manufacturers certified by the third-party certification process right now as of January the 18th, 2021. And it doesn't look currently like it's going to be delayed. It's going to be interesting. Stay tuned to the Safety Dog channel to find out more. If this gets delayed, yes, I will make a new video if this is delayed. All right, that's it for this week, or this time, this video. Safety Dog's out. And don't forget, if you got value from this, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and like and subscribe to the Safety Dog channel. That's it. Safety Dog's out.